For the longest time, I have believed that I wasn't worthy. I wasn't good enough for love, for belonging, for happiness, for what I wanted. How do I now believe the opposite? I get it intellectually. I do deserve love, but I don't believe it. I struggle to believe it. How do I make that shift? That was a question that came in a coaching call with a couple of my guys in a group coaching call last week. Let's call them Steve and Steve. If you're new here, I call them all Steve for the sake of their privacy. Today, we're going to explore this. Hang around to the end because I've got some really powerful tips for you, including one question that you can ask daily and regularly that can fundamentally shift how you live your life and how you can absolutely start to believe that you are worthy of love and belonging, joy, happiness, whatever it is that you want. But before that, hey there, legend. I'm Mike Campbell. I am the anti-nice guy men's coach. I help nice guys build self-worth, self-respect, and a solid sense of security so that you can kill your nice guy and get so much more from life, from love, and the everyday. All right, so into today's coaching corner, a lesson, a takeaway from a coaching call with a few guys. Two guys are really sitting on this piece here. The question came from one guy and there was hands flying up. The question was as framed at the start. Now to frame it for you guys, we do a lot of work around what we call a villain, but what we might frame here is your shadow, the fundamental kind of identity in you that is the voice of your insecurity, your deepest fear, and all the shit you've kind of been through in your life that was unpleasant, that has led to unmet needs and ineffective coping mechanisms and behaviors and beliefs about yourself and your place in the world and the world around you, fundamentally landing somewhere around your belief of your worth. And what we search for is this term, your villain's deepest truth. And that is fundamentally looking for what is the belief that you have held about yourself at your deepest depths that speaks to how you see yourself and your place in the world. And often we might find these types of lines that I don't deserve love and belonging, that I'm not good enough as I am, that I'm not lovable just in the form that I am. And any number of permutations and branches from that. So here was Steve saying, for the longest time, I've believed that I wasn't worthy of love and belonging, that I wasn't good enough. I get it intellectually that I am worthy, that I do deserve it, but man, I struggle to believe it. How do I start to believe it? And so one of the things that we have to kind of do here is, like anything, I can start to talk to strategy stuff for him, right? Which is really important. But if we're only dealing in strategy, it's very, very flimsy. I have to deal with the foundations of anything. If I give you a different example, let's say someone's wanting to get healthy and fit. We could give you strategy. It's very important strategy. Exercise regularly, eat well, watch the amount of crap that you eat and the overall amount of food that you eat relative to how much you expend. Those things are important. That's the basics. Everyone knows those. So why don't they apply them? The key is in that foundation, why I don't allow myself to do the things that are good for me, why I haven't been able to eat well and keep up a healthy lifestyle in the past, etc., etc. Those foundations are absolutely integral for the application, the execution of the strategy. And the same thing is here. The same thing applies here. So when I'm talking to Steve, we go, well, first of all, we need to zoom out. We need to understand what's going on. So what we do in this work is we're fundamentally looking at the two directions in which we're driven as humans. The first one is I am driven from pain. I'm driven from fear, right? And the avoidance of painful experiences and discomfort and displeasure. Things that I've been through in the past. I might have experienced a lack of care, attention, empathy, love, unconditional love as a child. And so I learned these ideas about myself that who I am isn't good enough. I have to perform to receive love and attention. And so the downstream, extremely powerful belief is I'm not good enough as I am. And so that's going to drive so much of my life, right? And as my friend Javon Langford says, I am pushed by that pain until I am pulled by purpose. And so pain is an extremely powerful motivator, and it will move us out of pain. But if we stay only in being driven by pain, once pain ends, I stop. And so it's extremely powerful, but it never takes me anywhere meaningful. I'm driven to prove people wrong. I'm driven to succeed, so then I will have worth. I'm driven to accomplish, achieve, to be better, so then I have worth. So then other people will respect me. It's all based outside of me. I'm not in charge of that. I'm not in control of it. It's continually disempowering. But that will drive people a long way, often to a lot of, types of, let's call it material success. But if they haven't got anything meaningful that's pulling them forward, they will never land for them. It'll always stick. They'll always feel empty. So a big part of our work is looking at what has been driving me, what has been causing the direction of my life. And we can see a lot of this shit. right? At some point, our work is to get clear on that, reframe that stuff, be able to put it down and move through it, integrate what's there for us, put down what isn't, and then really turn around and go, now, what is for me? What am I give a shit about? What do I actually value? What is meaningful to me? What is pulling me forward? What that is fulfilling, that is meaningful. That starts with our values, because our values help us set the direction, the journey that we're going on towards a North Star. So this is a very simple part of what we start to look at in answer to his question. So the first thing that we have to understand is this stuff, this belief that I'm not good enough, to summarize it very quickly, has been driving so much of my life, decades. And so that is not just going to change in the drop of a hat. It might change intellectually. Okay, I get it, right? But I've been believing that bad press about myself for so long that it is going to take time. If you think about a giant ship, a huge tanker, a tanker that ships other tankers. It's massive, right? It's got so much momentum. It takes time to stop, to slow down, and to turn that stuff around if you want to go 180. So it's going to take patience. But you can't just hope that it will turn around. You have to apply yourself to it consistently. This is the challenging spot that a lot of nice guys struggle in, is to have a healthy element of grace for oneself and patience while still being determined and holding a standard for ourselves. We think if I have grace for myself and I don't just beat myself up, I'm going to let myself away with everything. So it's a very important piece of the puzzle. I have to have patience. It takes time to turn that around. That villain, as we call it, right? That set of beliefs about myself, I'm not good enough, etc. That's been driving the bus for so long. And so sometimes it can be hard to wrestle the wheel free from that guy. Part of our work is to allow him to sit in the back seat. He's still part of me. I'm not kicking him off the bus because that's self-rejection, but he's no longer driving it. So first of all, I have to recognize the enormity of turning that ship around. And sometimes that means reconciling. I can see it, but my level of competence to change it isn't quite there. And so there's going to be some frustration. So if I have any expectations that it needs to shift now, that I want that to be shifted yesterday, it's not going to happen. And that's going to continue to frustrate me and often get in the way of me applying myself to something new. Second, I have to confront all of that shit consistently and continually, because in that is all my insecurities. And so I have to put myself into situations where that belief system is challenged, in love relationships, in work, in business, whatever it is, because change requires confrontation. So I have to confront all of my insecurities, all of my old beliefs, and the areas in my life that those were peaked and seemingly reinforced previously while I was believing all that bad press about myself. Second, change needs repetition. So one of the fundamental things that we're coaching Steve and the other men in this is, now that you start to understand intellectually that you're worthy of love and belonging, that you deserve, happiness, whatever it might be, you have to now build the reps of that, because for the longest time you've believed that you weren't, and that's been the lens of which you've viewed the world. So literally everything you've viewed it. Someone, chose not to be friends with you, or a relationship ended, and you have chosen to believe through the lens, that's because I'm not good enough. No, it's not. It's just that you've believed that for so long, you interpret it that way. So what you have to do is you have to look for all the evidence to the contrary. Search through your life historically, all the evidence. The people have chosen to be in relationship with you. Not they had to, they chose to. There is evidence for this new belief. Second, we have to build evidence. So Steve's fundamental job now is to become the person who believes that he is worthy of love and belonging. And so even in the toughest, smallest moments where he doesn't believe that, which might be extremely consistently initially, because he's turning around a giant supertanker, he can ask himself this very simple yet very powerful question. If I did believe in this moment that I am worthy of love and belonging, or whatever it is for you, what would I do? How would I be? And so that's a question that I invite Steve to ask himself every day, but also moment to moment, because this work, change, can always boil down to one moment. I'd have this choice or I have this choice. And so if I believed I was a piece of shit and not worthy of love and belonging, I might take this path. If I believed it, I might not believe it now, but if I believe it, what would I do? And it might be this one. So can I choose that path despite not believing that I'm worthy of love and belonging, and what that path might take me to? And I would put it to you that you can, but it might feel clunky and wobbly. It might feel wholly insecure and unstable initially, but you will build competence the more you do it, and with that becomes confidence, becomes trust, becomes belief. That belief will start to anchor. So part of this work is having the patience and the grace to allow the supertanker to slowly turn around as you turn it around, as you take the actions and become the man that believes it. So you start to believe it, going from the intellectual to believing it in your fucking bones by executing on those behaviors regardless of believing it. You build evidence. You sit with that evidence. You surround yourself with people who believe it and reinforce it and invite you to believe it. There's a lot to this. It's such a fundamental piece of the work because our core beliefs about ourselves will dictate how we see the world, how we see ourselves, and how we interact with the world. And if you don't work on that and change that, it does not matter what strategy you download from the internet or read or follow from some successful woke guru on the internet. It's all flimsy, useless shite if you don't work on that foundation. That's been today's coaching corner. If you want to invest and explore this work for yourself, the work that we do in the Everyday Legends Academy, this has been the tiniest of snippets into that. Drop a comment below. We can give you any information that you can check out yourself. Remember, like, subscribe, click the bell to get notifications of when these videos are up. Most people who watch those videos aren't yet subscribed to the channel. So make sure you subscribe so you get first notifications when these videos come in. Feel free to drop me your questions as well, and I can address them from a coaching standpoint if you want. I've been Mike Campbell. Get out there, build that legendary integrity, and become a unfuckwithable good man.